Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khairi. I am a mathematics teacher at Teuku Arif Fatih Bilingual School, Banda Aceh. And here in this occasion, I'm going to present the progress of my research on the effect of STEAM education on secondary school students' design thinking mindset and attitude towards sustainable development. This research is sponsored by Siamio Kitab in Mathematics. First of all, here are the outlines of my presentation, including the research background, framework, and methodology, the research steps, and also the constraints that I faced during the conduction of this research, and also what I have done so far. Regarding the background, this research is initiated by the concept of sustainable development that is receiving an increasing attention globally. Sustainable development refers to the efforts to prepare communities to deal with global challenges and meet the demands of the present life without harming the future generations' life. Through its Envision 2030 agenda, the United Nations has formulated 17 sustainable development goals as the main focuses of global development. These goals address the global challenges such as poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, and justice and peace. However, unfortunately, these sustainable development goals seem to be unfamiliar among Indonesian communities at the grassroots level. Research shows that these goals only familiar among the experts in the country. So that's why there will be an urge to foster the interest of Indonesian young generation in sustainable development to build their awareness of future challenges in their context and how to deal with them. Well, one example of the SDG that is needed by Indonesia is to make cities inclusive, safe, sustainable, and resilient, which is also known as SDG 11. Okay, part of this goal is to ensure the community can have sustainable and resilient housing that can prevent to overly use energy and resources, as well as to reduce the impact of natural disaster. This goal is important because in relation to geographical condition of Indonesia, Indonesia is a tropical country that is highly humid and has highly level of sunlight, as well as rainfall rate. Indonesia is a high disaster risk country as well. So that's why this geographical condition must require Indonesia to be prepared with adequate infrastructure that suit its environmental condition. Specifically in Banda Aceh, the city is a coastal area and lies on major continental plate that has caused the city to be a vulnerable area. That's why the awareness on preparing sustainable housing system will be important for Aceh communities. All right, so next, in relation to housing system, when we talk about housing system, vernacular housing or vernacular architecture could be one option. It refers to a type of local or regional construction that is closely related to its context and is aware of the specific geographic features and cultural aspects of its surroundings. The reality shows that the vernacular architecture has started being forgotten by societies, unfortunately. But actually, in fact, research has showed that vernacular housing had an accountable for performance in terms of survival and low damage intensity during the past disaster event in many countries around the world. Therefore, reintroducing this concept among the society will be part of the effort to support the sustainable development. And of course, school setting is one of the best starting points to introduce the Indonesian young generation to the importance of sustainable development and the skill required to support such development. However, the implementation of STEAM education in Indonesia still limited. Practical efforts are still needed to promote the the importance of STEAM education and its implementation in the classroom to help the realization of the Indonesian education goal. So this research is planning to bridge all the aforementioned issues by providing the opportunities for students to engage in learning environment that discuss about global issues. In details, it can be seen in the following framework. So here in the framework, actually, what we are going to do is to fill the gap here. So the gap in education for sustainable development that is not really familiar in school setting yet. So this project will introduce the concept of sustainability to secondary school students by focusing on the goal of designing sustainable and safe human settlement in Aceh environmental condition. The learning will be done using STEAM approach, where most aspect of STEAM education will involve, and the use of 4D frame toolkit is believed could help students understand the issues more easily. So we will use 4D frame here to answer our research question as well at the end of this study. The impact of STEAM education on students' mindset and design thinking and attitudes toward sustainable development will be evaluated. So those would be our research question here. So the impact of STEAM education towards design thinking mindset and the impact of STEAM education towards the attitudes of students on sustainable development. All right. In terms of the methodology, we will use a case study method that involves 5 students of year 8 in our school. And in data collection, we will use two instruments, pre and post intervention surveys and deep interviews. The survey data will measure students' design thinking mindset and their attitude towards sustainable development pre and post intervention. And the trend that appear in the surveys will be analyzed, and later interviews will be conducted to clarify and elaborate the trends that are obtained from the surveys. All right, in terms of the data analysis, we will use theme coding. So all the trends will be coded, and at the end, it will lead us to the findings of this project. So here are the research steps that I'm going to conduct. So student at the first step, in the first stage, student will have introductory stage, and they will have a kind of workshop sessions aiming to develop students' understanding on the concept of sustainability and sustainable development as well as introduce students with 4D frame toolkit. In this stage, we also will allow students to get hands-on experience on how to use 4D frame. And then the second stage would be related to design thinking, or in STEAM education, it is called EDP, engineering design process. And the steps that I will conduct here, 5 steps, actually they are part of EDP. So the first one is empathy building. So here student will be provided with the concept of sustainable, resilient, and safe human settlement, and the facts about the geographical condition in Indonesia and Aceh in specific. And here we will also invite an architect to provide, to explain to them about this fundamental concept. And next step would be needs finding. Here, students will discuss the core ideas about resilient and sustainable human settlement in Aceh. Next step, it would be ideation. It means students will discuss about the design concept that they have been thinking about, and about the resilient house that will be suitable in Aceh context. And next, it will be prototyping, where students will create a house using 4D frame based on the design they have made. And the last one, it will be tasting. So they will present their work in front of the teacher and also the architect, and maybe some feedback will be gained so they can revise their prototype later on. All right, but unfortunately we have some constraints here. I still cannot do this this research within the time that has been planned before. One of the constraints is the change of the focus of main activity of the project. Previously, the project goal is to introduce the concept of disaster resilient housing system and ask them to create a prototype of the house. However, considering that to evaluate the success of the prototype that is made by students, we'll need a lot of indicators to consider. The goal of the activities in this project is change to be sustainable house that suit HNA's environment. Not only in terms of environment, but also in terms of cultural. So that's why I need more time to discuss with the expert about the design of our activities. Secondly, we also have some challenge here due to the spread of COVID-19 is getting worse in our city, Mandache. And also even some times ago, our school had some cluster spread, which caused some school members got infected. So the school decided to be closed since 2 months ago. All learning process is switched to be online, so that it was hard to start the research if we cannot interact directly with students when introducing the 4D frame. And also these 2 weeks, students are focusing on their mid-test exams. So I still cannot start my project with them. So I am planning to start it soon once they finish their exam. Okay, what I have done so far. So here, of course, I have got consent from both school and student. And also I have designed this instrument needed for the study. And I also have discussed with expert architect related to the components that we need to involve in our activities in this research. I also plan to resume this project next week around 20 September. Hopefully, even though the lockdown is still there, we still have a restricted interaction between students, or maybe we will combine it with online meeting through using Zoom platform. So here are my research progress so far. I hope I can do it. I can finish it soon, hopefully, so I can report the result of my research later. Thank you very much. That's it from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.